Let's take a look at five, I think, contrasts before Sputnik and after Sputnik. In terms of America's supremacy in the world, prior to Sputnik, America clearly accepted itself, figured itself as number one. Communism, although now a threat after the Korean War, was still far away. There was no territorial threat to the United States. But after Sputnik, the U.S. questioned itself. Communism was potentially everywhere. There was now a fear of nuclear attack from the heavens because Sputnik went overhead and people could hear it on the radio going beep, 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 beep. America's commitment in a way to consumerism, which was a part and parcel of economic development in the late 40s and in through the 50s, had been taken for granted prior to Sputnik as part of the American way of life. After Sputnik, consumerism was now questioned in relationship to national security, which had to come first. Our way of life, our whole understanding of ourselves might be at risk. Prior to Sputnik, education involved, in national terms, what was emphasized in education were the liberal arts, management, business, law. There was no major federal involvement in supporting education from K through 16, which is to say kindergarten through college. The federal government stayed out of education, which was largely run by the states. After Sputnik, tremendous federal support, with an emphasis in science and in math. That National Defense Education Act was passed in 1958, the year after Sputnik. The National Science Foundation, which had been established in 1949, received massive increases in funding. And the Department of Defense established expanded funding for the advanced research projects, advanced defense, ARPA, Advanced Research Defense, Advanced Projects, ARPA, Advanced Research Projects Agency, all to support basic research in the sciences. The engineer, the very cultural meaning of the engineer, shifted and changed. Prior to Sputnik, the engineer was something of a national hero, or at least a fairly prominent person, who made the high standard of living, the increased standard of living of the 1950s possible. Your, I guess, now grandparents might have been those who first got to move into a single-family dwelling during the 50s. Engineers contributed to America's economic development. After Sputnik, the cultural status of engineers dropped behind scientists and found themselves and continued to be caught in a tension between science and industry. Engineering education changed. Prior to Sputnik, the emphasis was on the so-called handbook approach to problem solving. Engineers had lots of handbooks filled with tables and charts from which they drew information to figure in designs and specific acts of problem solving. Planning careers in industry, government, or business. After Sputnik, with the rise of the sciences, there was an increasing focus on this analytical approach to problem solving for careers hopefully leading to R&D, but certainly in design. And this is the kind of problem solving that you've learned and that you understand. The curriculum content changed. Prior to Sputnik, there was something described as a two-stem structure of engineering education, which included a broad base in the humanities, social sciences, and indeed basic sciences, with one stem or track leading into engineering practice and another track leading into labor management, because fields of engineering in the United States developed inside of companies, inside of machine shops, manufacturing shops, with a major responsibility of supervising labor. Very practical orientation in both cases, with the engineering sciences relatively limited compared to the present. After Sputnik, there was the rise, basically the structure we have now, a one-stem engineering education system, founded first in the basic sciences and then emphasizing the engineering sciences organized by discipline, whether we're talking about deforms, fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, and the like, leading towards detailed engineering analysis and design, design being the capstone of the learning of the engineering sciences. Some involvement from humanities and social sciences, kind of off to the side, but relatively little engineering practice.